The cold metallic floor of the prison cell hummed softly beneath my fingertips. The gravity within the chamber was unnatural, designed to suppress my strength. I had lost count of how many hours or days had passed since I was taken. The only certainty was that I was no longer on Earth. With a hiss, the cell door slid open. Two imposing figures stepped inside, each clad in regal battle-worn attire that signified both power and dominance. These were the monarchs of the Sovereign Order, the highest generals of an empire that spanned countless star systems. A tall, silver-haired woman with piercing violet eyes stepped forward. "Ethan Vale," she spoke, her voice echoing with a synthesized reverberation. "You are in the presence of the monarchs of the Sovereign Order. You will rise." Despite the oppressive force weighing down on me, I pushed myself up standing defiantly. "What do you want?" Lucian Oren, popularly known as the Black Monarch, let out a low chuckle. "We have already taken what we wanted." Tisaya Vex, whom the others referred to as the Mind Sovereign, gestured for me to follow. "Come," she commanded. "You will see the truth of our order." I was led through the vast corridors of their colossal warship, which hummed with energy beyond anything Earth's scientists could comprehend. Through massive observation windows, I saw countless battleships forming an armada, each one capable of leveling entire cities. Our journey took us across the stars from planet to planet. The Sovereign Order did not simply conquer, they extracted. They took whatever was valuable technology, resources, minds, and strength. The weak were discarded while the strong were absorbed into their ranks. On one planet, I saw towering machines tearing through fields of rare minerals, the inhabitants reduced to slave labor under the watchful gaze of armed sovereign enforcers. On another, the most brilliant scientists in the galaxy were forced to work tirelessly, innovating against their will to further the Order's technological superiority. A third world lay in ruins, its people butchered, its cities turned to dust. Half the population had been erased in mere hours. The other half toiled beneath the heel of their conquerors. Xipher 9, a planet of steel and sorrow, smoke choked the sky. Metal shrieked as bombs ripped through factory complexes. Once gleaming towers lay shattered, monuments to a bygone era. The air reeked of burning oil and fear. Civilians huddled underground, praying for a salvation they knew wouldn't come. The Sovereign Order had arrived weeks ago, their iron grip tightened with each passing day. They came in sleek warships, black and merciless, their goal total subjugation, the planet's resources. Its people, all were to be bent to the Order's will. Resistance was met with swift, brutal force. Hope dwindled with every fallen defender. The streets, once bustling with life, were now eerily deserted. Rubble littered the ground, punctuated by the occasional corpse. Those who could flee had already escaped. The remaining souls were trapped, their fates hanging by a thread. They knew the stories, whispered in hushed tones. They knew the Order showed no mercy. Xipher 9 was dying, a slow, agonizing death. But even in the face of oblivion, the embers of resistance still flickered. Deep within the heart of the industrial wasteland, a plan was brewing. A desperate gamble against impossible odds. For freedom, for vengeance, for a chance to breathe again. Zorga, a young but hardened soldier, checked his weapons one last time. His pulse hammered in his ears. He wasn't afraid of death, not anymore. Fear had been burned away long ago. But the weight of responsibility, of leading his people into this desperate assault, was a heavy burden to bear. A flicker of movement caught his eye. Monarch Tisaya emerged from one of the warships, her presence commanding attention. Her silver hair, usually worn loose, was pulled back in a tight braid, her face a mask of cold determination. Zorga clenched his weapon. There was no need for grandiose speeches, no rousing calls to arms. They all knew what was at stake. This was a suicide mission, a last-ditch effort to buy time. For the fleeing civilians, Zorga nodded, his jaw set in a hard line. He checked the grenades strapped to his chest, a grim reminder of the task ahead. They were outgunned, outmatched, and outmaneuvered. But they had one advantage, the element of surprise. The resistance fighters surged forward, a wave of ragged fury crashing against the iron tide of the Order. Their weapons, cobbled together from scraps and salvaged parts, spat fire and fury. Each explosion, each fallen enemy, was a small victory in a losing war. Zorga fought with ferocity. He moved like a phantom through the battlefield, his twin blades a blur of motion. He cut down one enemy soldier, then another, their biomechanical bodies offering little resistance to his fury. But for every enemy that fell, two more seemed to take their place. The Order's soldiers were relentless, their movements precise and deadly. They fought with the cold efficiency of machines. The air crackled with energy as Tisaya signaled a new wave of soldiers to attack, disrupting Xipher 9 formations. The rebels were being pushed back and decimated, but the extermination had only begun. High above, the Order's warships rumbled, their shadows falling across the battlefield. The ground shook as a thunderous barrage of orbital strikes rained down upon them. Each impact sent shudders through the very foundation of the planet. Zorga watched in horror as his comrades were cut down around him. The air filled with the screams of the dying. He knew then that all was lost. But even in the face of annihilation, Zorga refused to yield. He would make the Order pay for every life they took. He saw Tisaya, her face filled with excitement as she watched the massacre. Zorga knew what he had to do. He picked up a blaster from the battlefield and charged toward Tisaya. He aimed at her and took his shot. I spotted him and out of instinct, forgetting I currently did not have access to my powers, I jumped in front of Tisaya, protecting her, and took a mortal wound to the chest. The world blurred, voices muffled. I could feel my life slipping away. Monarch Tisaya stepped forward, unbothered. With a flick of her wrist, a medical drone hovered over me, scanning my wounds. A small spider-like machine latched onto my injury, injecting advanced nanites into my bloodstream. Within moments, the wound sealed, my pain vanishing as if it had never been there. I gasped awake, my hands gripping my now unscathed chest. Tisaya smirked. That was impressive. Perhaps you are worth more than we initially thought. Back at the ship, I was confronted by both monarchs again. What do you need me for? Lucian Orin turned towards me. You are power incarnate. We did not invade Earth for your planet. We came for you. My stomach twisted. Earth was never the target. I was. Inside the grand hall of the monarchs, I stood at the center as the sovereign generals loomed over me. Your choice is simple, Tisaya Vex stated. Join us or die. I glared at them. I will not become your pawn. You misunderstand, Tisaya said with a knowing smirk. You will not be a pawn. You will be a monarch. A heavy silence filled the room. I looked around, weighing my options. Escape was impossible. I had seen their power, their reach. If I join you, I want full authority over my own actions. I will not be your puppet. The monarchs exchanged glances. Done, Tisaya agreed. With a wave of her hand, an attendant brought forth an ornate black admiral's uniform, lined with golden accents. It radiated authority. I hesitated for only a moment before taking it. As I donned the attire, the reality of my situation set in. I was no longer Ethan Vale of Earth. I was Emperor Vale the Stormborn, the fourth monarch of the Sovereign Order, and my reign was just beginning.